So excited for us to hear from Rosina Feser. She's from Pixo. And in our last session, we talked a lot about the fact that we went after LMSs in all the wrong ways when they first came out. We had this technology. We said, "Ooh, it's going to be great. We're going to use technology to lower training costs, and we can just put them in front of a computer, and it's going to be great." And then we realized very quickly that why that doesn't work, and it's because what we do in our restaurants every day is so experiential. It's habit forming. It's getting your hands on things. But then we also have this problem where if we rush it too fast, if we put too many stressors on it, we've been hearing a lot about bringing the learning to the learner and making it something that works for them. So I'm so excited that we have a vendor partner here at the forefront of taking something very, very new, AI and virtual reality, and bringing it into something that's going to help all of us, whether we're on the forefront and working like these 20 brands are right now, or whether we are trailing by a year or two. This will be in our restaurants. So thank you so much for being here, Rosina.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the introduction. I am obviously not Sean, so my apologies on that. Although in our industry, Sean is a rock star and Pixo is a rock star. We are not known here, so it is unfortunate that he wasn't able to be here today for scheduling conflicts. He's on his way in this evening, so that way we can network and things later. But he is bummed about not being able to make it for this. So if I may ask that I can take a group picture and send it to him so that when he gets off the plane later, I won't send it now, I'll just take the picture now. We won't show off my lack of technology skills. That way I can take the picture and you guys can kind of all wave. And we'll say, "Hey, Sean." All right, cool. Thank you. All right, so as we said, we are PixoVR. It's kind of implied in our name, we do VR, virtual reality technology. We are focused on training, and we work with some of the largest companies in the world, off to the right there, including the largest company in the world, Saudi Aramco. Obviously, that's more on the industrial side of things, and more recently, we've been working with one particular QSR. We'll talk about their stats today, but also with Compass Group, IIFX, which is more for entertainment venues. And the reason that we're very excited about this particular market and expanding into food and bev and venues is a very large, very young, decentralized workforce. And that is so our jam. That is exactly where we are. You can scale with us. It's obviously gamified. It's virtual reality. It's exactly our wheelhouse. And then on top of that, you guys are in an industry where you have very high turnover. You have to appeal to that younger crowd all the time. And you have brand standards that for a guest experience make it extremely important to make that training as effective as possible very, very quickly. So we'll get into more of that later, but even on the industrial side, they have turnover rates of maybe 30% thereabouts and consider that to be awful, right? And people here, I see faces are going, "Really?" Yes, I've worked in those places where they go, "Whoa, our turnover is 35%. We've got to lower that." So imagine. When we look at the industry standards and we look at the industry stats, we'll talk that through. I know you guys have heard a lot of it, but I'd like for it to also be a little interactive. So if we have some questions throughout, then feel free to ask. But if not, here we go. Just to start. So we are talking about specifically 20 QSR locations, how they're cutting turnover by gamifying training. Not just cutting turnover though, improving the entire experience. So how can you gamify training? This should be starting a video, if that's okay. I don't know how that's gonna, but regardless, you can see this video playing at our booth. You can go through that demo yourself. I know I've tried to talk to a lot of you into doing it. It's not as scary, it is fun. It is not as scary as it seems. If you don't have one of us standing there, the prompt tells you, walk over to this, grab that. Everything is lit up, you just kind of grab it and go. But so how can you gamify training? We've talked about lots of different ways to do that already in this conference. From our perspective, you make it a completely immersive environment and go in there and do, right? You use virtual reality. What is virtual reality? That completely 3D immersive environment, completely interactive. You walk in, again, you do, it's the muscle memory. You're doing it in a very, very safe environment. You're doing it where you're not wasting food and bev cost. You're doing it where if you make a mistake, the only thing that suffers is your leaderboard status, which can, on the gamification side, be very intense, yes. However, from that perspective of learning and training and on the corporate side of things, you're not wasting between training and messing up when you're finally doing it and all of that. This particular training, just as a side note, I've learned from conversations with people that there are a lot of questions I didn't anticipate about how to actually create the training. I'll address this here, and then we'll move on to the actual stats. So this one, it's not playing right now, unfortunately, my apologies, but from top to bottom was created by our team in 3 weeks. And we have a new tool that's out in the market making a big splash on the XR industry side, where our content creation tool that's making it so you can build it super, super quickly, have reusable components, and after that initial cost of creating that one module, it becomes cheaper and cheaper, because if you're continuing to use components that are here and you're using it throughout, whether front of the house, back of the house, or wherever, it's just that much cheaper and faster. And we're rapidly moving toward DIY, where any instructional designer will be able to take it, use it, and drag and drop and create their virtual reality modules. So with our tool, you can also, you build it once, and it publishes to VR, AR, tablet, headset, mobile, Mac, PC. So you can use it in any capacity. Virtual reality is our preference, not only because of the effectiveness of the actual muscle memory and being able to do things, but, well, actually that's really it. But you also have 100%, what's the word I'm looking for? You're not distracted, right? You're 100% immersed. You're 100% in it. Your glasses are preventing you from being distracted by those 60 screens that are up at Buffalo Wild Wings. So you're in it, you're doing it. All of that adds up to a faster and more effective learning experience. If you are able to do it on tablet or PC or Mac, sorry, I'm not a Mac person, so I don't think of that first, then it is still effective. You're still able to go through the process, just not as effective. Okay, so now we get into industry stats and why you guys are probably all here. We've all heard over and over again, industry standard turnover rate on average is 150%. So how true do you guys feel that is for where you are at? Nodding heads, yes. Now, the QSR partner that we're working with is nowhere near that, quote unquote. They're at 100%. That is still massive. As I said, on the industrial side, 35%, and they're wringing their heads and saying, what is going on here? So any lowering percent of that turnover rate is massive and huge. Because for everybody that you churn on an hourly rate, industry average is $5,800 per employee that you're losing. And in an industry where in 2022, 46% of people made it past 90 days, that is huge. Because even if you're benchmarking against these and you're saying, we're doing really well, even at half that cost of $5,800, that's still a lot of money to throw out the door because somebody decided they wanted to walk each time they do it. It costs a lot less to keep a company or to keep a person than it does to have to rehire and retrain and do all of that. Now, virtual reality can cut turnover 31%. It's been proven in a similar industry with frontline workers that are bombarded as soon as they walk in, and their top complaint was, I don't feel prepared. When I actually have to sit there, when I actually have to go out there and do it, I don't feel prepared. Implemented virtual reality training, turnover was cut 31% because now they actually feel prepared. And we'll see more numbers to that effect later on in this particular study as well. So, how are you guys feeling about benchmarking your own numbers against this? Ooh, I'm seeing a lot of grimaces and mms. But nevertheless, 100% of your workers, even if that's where you're at, is a huge percentage. And we're working with a QSR that, yes, is a lot less than that industry standard, and they're still working to try and cut down turnover, because you have to. So they found us through the website, submitted a website lead, Go Marketing, that's me. All right, yes, thank you. All right, so they found us. Now, The reason that they found us, they were already ahead of the game. We didn't have our sights on QSRs at all. We were more on the industrial side. We were teaching Saudi Aramco and those kinds of places how to use virtual reality and how to implement it, and with their diverse workforce and spread out throughout the world, etc. But they had already gone through a different VR platform and different VR company ahead of the pandemic to try things out. Very innovative company. They realized that company can't scale with us. How are we going to put this out there to our X number of stores? I'm not going to say. All right, how are we going to put this out there to all of our stores and have it be scalable, effective, good content, etc.? So they went searching and they found us. Woohoo, that's very much our wheelhouse. Scaling, that's what we have. You guys are different from our other industries because you already know you need scale. You already have a dispersed workforce. I don't care if you have 3 locations or 5,000, you know. Lots of companies that we work with will say, okay, we wanted it at headquarters. Now that's 5,000 people maybe, but 1 location. A little different, right? So sometimes we have to say, scaling is going to be your problem. And they go, we don't have that problem yet. You guys have that problem immediately. So what they're looking to do, we have a 20-store rollout that started in 2023. We're still technically at the end of it. We've had a couple of events happening, actually literally on the same days, that are forcing us to do some surveying. So we're taking advantage of that. But it's still technically in the end phases of that first 20-store pilot rollout. So our goals are to find out, will it cut down VR? Or VR, will it cut down on turnover? What can we understand from that experience, from everybody's perspective, that will make it an effective rollout and scale throughout the rest of the stores? And then our expected long-term goals and expectations for outcomes are that it will cut down turnover 30%. We're not going to say 31%. We'll say 30. That we expect, it's 50, right? Okay. For a half second, I thought I had a typo and put 5. It's 50% reduction in labor costs for grand openings, because now you don't need a store. You don't need to borrow a store. You can have a facility where you put people through VR. They get that muscle memory down. You have less trainers going out there and training them. They're ready to, once that store is built, ready, walk in, boom, they're ready to go. So they're expecting to cut down labor costs 50%, and they're expecting to improve their customer, what's the metric? I'm trying not to say the actual one. Customer satisfaction. Their customer satisfaction rate at least 1 point, because for every point that it improves, you're increasing your revenue that's coming in. The plans to scale, all locations by 2025 and a requirement. Right now, people are opting in. It's a pilot rollout. We're having a lot of success with other operators and owners wanting to get in, but the plan is by 2025, so 1 short year from now, it will be part of the curriculum. It will be a requirement. But so far, you've seen these stats. They're in the flyers that are in the bags if you've taken them. They're at our booth. They're on our I'm losing words today, and this is a bad time to do it. They're on our postcards. You've seen these stats. A little bit behind them, though. So 83% of the franchise owners, we've done it across 20 stores, 20 different owners that have across them 2,000 team members. And 83% of those franchise owners and their leadership consider VR training, again, sort of during the pilot, toward the end of it, extremely to very effective. Now we're talking on a scale of 1 to 10 and NPS type of scale, we're talking 8 to 10. So this isn't, I'm trying to fudge it to, well, 6 to 10, very, 8 to 10. And more of those were on the extremely side, but I still wanted to account for those very. And in those, people are commenting on the ability to lower turnover up to 20% already. Their ability to use contests because of the gamification to retrain team members that were maybe underperforming and able to get them back up to speed and retrained. They were able to identify current team members where they had weaknesses, what they needed more training on, and then effectively and easily retrain them on those learning modules. And then point out cost mistakes, right? Prime costs. We know that's a thing. We know that's extremely important. On our side, food and bev waste. Okay, you just did that. That just cost us X amount of money. Now, not only is the VR training going to potentially, depending on how you'd want to set it up, walk you through exactly what it is that you need to be doing step by step, and you can't move forward without doing those steps. You can have, as they have, a training mode where you can do the things like our bagging module where it lights up, it walks you through, it tells you exactly what to do, when to do it. You can have it then where you're in essentially assessment mode where all of that goes away. You're just in there and you have to do it. Now what? And you report out on all of that. You see what team members are doing what, where they're getting stuck. It connects to your LMS. We can have all of those integrations as well, and then make it this whole systemic, where are our team members going wrong? You can do it by team member. You can do it by group, as in this store's team versus that store's team. You can do it by leadership versus team members. You can do it, you can cut and pivot that data any way you want it. 75% of team members are considering VR extremely to very helpful in learning their burn practices. So they are commenting on how it's a fun learning tool. They're more engaged. They're commenting on their own engagement being more. It's great experiences, and they're commenting on beating high scores. We have a lot of testimonials to that effect too, even from franchise owners and leadership saying, like, we'll have the quotes at the end, but you know, team members are constantly trying to beat the high scores. They're even calling me when they're beating mine. I set the high record as the owner, and they're calling me to say, I beat your record, you know? So they're making it gamified in that way too, and they're commenting on it. And then 50% of team members, and this I think is huge, but 50% of team members in an MPS type of question would recommend working for that brand based on the ability to train in virtual reality. So not only are you retaining that person, you're getting them to recruit for you. And they're commenting on helpfulness for people new to food service. Now, maybe that's their own experience. Maybe that's what they're thinking of for, yeah, if I had somebody that's coming in and doesn't know anything, I can get them up to speed on food service. And a fun way to learn. Fun, right? In fact, 100% of people on both sides said it makes training fun. That's one of the strengths of VR training. 60% of franchise owners and leadership says it makes the trainees learn faster. I'm going to give you a couple of caveats on those numbers. 50% of team members said it makes the trainees learn faster. What I didn't include here were the more negative things, and I'll talk about it, but I did realize last night, like, ooh, I should change that and add that too, the learnings, but I'll talk about it. 67% of franchise owners in leadership said they can cross-train more effectively, and 50% said there's flexibility in scheduling team members to different stations. So, small caveat in why those numbers are what they are. They're the real data that we see right now. Our learnings from this first 20 stores is the stores that thrived the most, that had the most usage, the most engagement, the most everything with it, are the ones where our customer success team was able to go in and be there in person to say, this is how you use it, this is the effective way of doing it, train the trainers, and then move on. It's not a long process, but it's super, super effective in person to get people up to speed on this, frankly, new technology and how to use it and what to do with it. So the stores that are not saying learns faster or cross-train more effectively, et cetera, are the ones that say the top two complaints are we need more space to do it, and we actually need somebody to stand there and walk that person through. So now you're losing two people, the people that are doing the training, and you actually do have to have somebody kind of shadowing them through the VR training. But that's a no and a no. Because you literally can create your boundary around you, no bigger than the station that you'd be working at anyway, and train in there. In those bags, there will be a story of our VP of content who created the milkshake training that we use with this QSR. Well, his team did, but he was one of the testers, and he went through the training and did it a few times to test to make sure it worked. And then he was standing in the store for the next learning objective to look at the workflow and things like that, make sure they got things right. And somebody said, hey, You want to try making one? And he goes, okay. And he got up and he made the milkshake. 1 minute and 40 seconds to brand standards, exactly the way the person wanted it, handed it off to the person. Like, unlike what? How many of us have ever worked in a QSR prior to this role that you're in now? As younger folks, how many of us have ever worked in quick service or fast casual as one of their, yeah. So the vast majority of us. He didn't have any of that experience. He had never worked in a restaurant like that before. He had no milkshake making experience ever. He had only ever just done it in VR that he created. And he did it quickly, to standard, and all of that. And, you know, an old buddy-duddy. It's okay. No. No, but frankly, a gentleman in his 50s who had never done that kind of work before and was able to do it in 1.5 minutes without any warning whatsoever. And he was like, yeah, sure, I could do it. He was confident because that's what happens. So imagine a younger person who's already confident in their ability. Probably 50% of team members say they don't learn faster because they're like, I learned this quick, it's fine. You know, and you're on your side saying, yes, but it has to be to our standards. It has to be accurate and correct. It has to be consistent. We can't have it so that today on the guest side, you're fourth in line and it takes you 20 minutes to get through the line. Yesterday, it took me 8. You know, like we can't have that inconsistency. You have to have consistency in your training. But the bigger metric in the middle also is that 75% of team members said they had more confidence and less stress when they actually went to do the job after doing it in VR. Because you're getting that muscle memory down. You're getting those brand standards in place. We are able and do put real order data into those point of sale systems, randomize it, and turn up the dial. You can have a $500 hour, you can have a $3,000 hour. Go. I worked at Dunkin' Donuts, my very first job. My parents only allowed me to work on weekends. Actually, no, my first job was selling suits. My second job. My parents only allowed me to work on weekends. That's a recipe for like, all right, you're in the fire, right? So my first shift, I had Friday night. I watched my friend do some stuff. Okay, cool. My second shift was 6 a.m. on Saturday. Good luck, right? Okay, lines out the door. Not because of me, but lines out the door. Go. This is where you're at. Go. I lasted 1.5 years, so go me. I didn't quit before the 90 days. But even so, like that's the type of thing that maybe I wouldn't have burned my hand on the coffee, or you know, I would have been able to do it more quickly and had more confidence in that first day. Because I went through it in VR, and you're able again to turn up that dial. Any questions on this or any? Yes. Can? Or yes. So that's going to be one of the ones that's upcoming. However, I will say this. You can do anything. Our answer is rarely no. You can do anything. So in the video that unfortunately didn't play, you do have a drive-through window. You don't go through it in this demo, but you can absolutely have that be one of your stations and one of your learning objectives. For this particular QSR right this second, what we started off with was dessert station and then protein station. And now we're moving into bagging accuracy, drive-through, and those kinds of things, and now customer experiences. You could put an avatar in there who's angry about their order not being accurate, things like that. Yes, that's what I'm saying. You turn up the volume. You say, like, the way that they've talked about it is the dollars for an hour, right? So you had a $3,000 hour, go. You have, I don't, if you do it by cars, I'm not sure. I'm ignorant on this, so forgive me, but you have 50 cars in a line, go, right? And then you can use that actual order data. You can put your order data in by, like, this is what the drive-through is, this is what the walk-in people are. Drive-in people, or drive-through people, this is what our orders are. Actual order data, randomize it, go. How do you mean? Like the learning objectives? Oh, headsets? They have 1 per store right now. What we recommend is potentially 2 to 3, especially as they increase learning objectives and especially as they're using it for more than just onboarding. Again, those stores that are thriving more are the ones that said, this is great for just onboarding. That was the initial thing for trying out with the pilot. Great for just onboarding people. However, we realize we can retrain team members. We realize that we can put management through it. We can cross train people. We can upskill people. We can do all sorts of things. So it all depends on your learning objectives and where you want to go. You literally can do anything. And we are making it on our content creation side where you can literally do anything, and soon enough, on a geological scale, you'll be able to do it yourself. So much like creating e-learning modules, you'll be able to drag and drop and make your own. Yep, sure. So you see the full kitchen. It's just your physical where you want to set the boundary to. Limited in space for training. Yes. Yes, you teleport. You can actually walk. Correct. So you can either walk. So it's a shame that the video is not showing, because the very first thing is teleporting. So in this one, sort of, you use your joystick in this case, and it creates a green circle, and then you go click, and then you're there. Yeah. So it's right. Yep. It's a very Star Trek approach. We should have like the swirls and glitter and stuff, but we don't. Sure, of course. Yes. Yes. Thank you. Yes. I will never say no. Yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, so, I mean, we already have stuff like that. So we have stuff like that on the industrial side. It's yeah, it is custom training that we've created, so you won't see it on our website necessarily, but we have it where you're actually driving the truck. We have it where you're inspecting the truck. We have it where if you don't lower your head enough to be able to actually look under that truck, it alerts you and says, nope, you have to actually look. So things like that. Yeah, absolute. Outside of restaurants, yeah, we are on that 100%. Inside of restaurants, we're on it 100% too, but we just have a lot more experience outside. Okay, so I'll get to so these are some quotes, which are gonna be too small for me to read. All right, okay. So essentially, that first one, it's so easy to use and fun. We have team members coming in early just to train in VR and calling me to say, I've beaten your high score, or I've beaten other people's high scores, right? So inherent gamification. You're already gamifying it by doing and playing in VR, essentially. And then on top of that, you have the leaderboard capability, which actually, because of this QSR, we said, what a great idea, and implemented that across all of our modules. So now, as of last week, we have leaderboard capability in everything. So it's something that we're using across the board. Team members and even customers are having a blast. So this franchise owner put a TV, well, maybe not put, but used the TV that is also customer facing and cast to that so that everybody could see how they were training. And they were like, we even had 15-year-olds come in and say, that's where I want to work. I want to work there, right? Like, that's how you train? How cool. And so they're having a blast with all of that. Training in VR allows me the flexibility to cross-train my entire team. And then something that we tout, and they actually said, more confidence, more skills, empowerment. They feel empowered that they can do their jobs well. And these are skills that a lot of us have done it, standing in the front lines, wearing our uniforms and going out there and catering to the public, right? So, and then you take those skills with you and you build leadership. We had one franchisee that came to us and said, that's great, we want the skilled training, but we actually want more leadership development training, because the people that want to be leaders, and even if they don't want to be it in my restaurant, those are the ones we want to cater to and be able to say, all right, we'll give you that leadership training. We will benefit from your training and experience with us. And when you move on, okay, like that was their philosophy on it. Team members, potential to help a lot of employees learn and develop when new to food service, right? So you get teenagers or whomever that just walk in and say, I need a job, I'm willing to work with super high turnover. That's one of the things that I tell my kids. You're gonna need to work in a restaurant. You're gonna need to work in a place like that. Awesome skills. You're going to benefit from it. It's always gonna be something that you, like all the different ways that you can benefit in terms of skill set and experience, you'll always be able to get a job. Now, wouldn't that be great if it weren't that, if that weren't the case, if we can cut turnover by such a drastic amount that people don't want to leave their jobs? So, but you're still going to always have those people that are new to food service, and that's how they can do it in a safe, realistic environment. Very excited to see more of the VR training, a fun way, or a fun learning tool, and help keep employees engaged. I like that team member. That sounds like a leader to me. It was a great experience overall and extremely helpful. Now, again, we had, at first it was onboarding specifically, and then some of those branches took it to, or some of those restaurants took it to extending it out to current team members and cross-training and things like that as well. So it's a mix of reactions. All right, thank you.